When Latvia was heavily affected by the economic crisis in Europe, many businesses, in cooperation with dishonest administrators and judges, began to employ malicious insolvencies to avoid repaying their loans. That made huge losses to the financial system. In addition, all society calculated those risks as receiving loans became harder. Bad practice made harm to our country's image by repelling foreign investors and eventually scaled to a threat to national security. Nordic Banka and later other banks asked the agency for support to include their topics in the government's and supervising institutions' agenda. Simply, banks were discreet toward their dishonest clients who used such modus operandi of financiers in their selfish interests. We decided to be radically transparent and vocal as never before to point out the consequences to all society on loaning conditions if the bad practice will continue. Therefore, we created a feeling for the government of urgency to solve the situation. The plan was to involve representatives of establishment in a debate where it would be hard for them to avoid and provoke to act faster. Nordic Banka stood against a particularly shameless case of its client avoiding to pay a loan. We dug in the Winergies fraud case to prepare dozens of publications to explain this scheme. As the majority of banks had the same problem, we mobilized a critical mass of financial sector players. The Association of Banks announced support for Nordic. To lift discreetness, we revealed the names of specific people involved. To gain the necessary intensity and increase the social pressure, we used paid media. A chain of articles was published and collected on a dedicated website. For our main targets, we created the feeling of being overwatched. A personally labeled and folded daily newspaper was sent to all administrators, judges, and members of parliament. As a result, journalists began to pay more attention to the problem of insolvencies, grilled the Minister of Justice, and that pushed the government to come up with more courageous acts. The Minister of Justice watched over insolvency practitioners by starting disciplinary proceedings against dishonest administrators and judges. The opportunity to get the preferable administrator for a trial was lowered. Riga Central District Court, which is notorious for malicious insolvencies, was liquidated. Now, after the Association of Administrators began a self-cleaning process, administrators are subjected to increased supervision. The new government has included the improving of insolvency practice as one of its priorities in a declaration. In the case of the client, we help to reach favorable settlements in their trials. But as for our country's image, the ease of doing business results confirmed that after this campaign, Latvia has made solid midterm improvements in resolving insolvency index.